This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. You can find all my work at mjmunoz.com. This is Story Over Everything, episode 22, Grobug Tales WIP, or Work in Public, chapter 7, and children's picture book number 4, Rewrite. So, I talk about it later on, so I'll just let you go through the experience with me. It's going to be a lot of audio from me in different places, dictating or speaking notes and thinking about the story aloud into the microphone, into the phone, and sending that to you. So that's what you're going to get in this episode. And by the end of it, I have some really cool progress that I've made, and I'm going to tell you all about that at the end of the episode. So I will let it evolve and then do the recap at the end and let it be that for now. And that's it. So I'm starting to do my audio recording for transcription of chapter 7 of Grobug Tales. This is the beginning of Grobug Tales. Grobug Tales chapter 7 features Hiss. It is the retelling from Hiss's perspective of Cat and the Grobug. For some background, and I guess this is spoilers for Cat and the Grobug, but this book comes out before then. It tells the other side of the story. It's not really intended for the children's audience, plus there's the story beyond it, and I'm telling a totally different perspective, which I think will be okay. Anyway, in Cat and the Grobug, Hiss is a moth Grobug who is actually in need of help from somebody, and she's in need of a friend to help her see through what she's stuck in. And basically, she was infected and affected by a spore from a from a spud of despair, I believe is what I called it. I'm not looking at my notes, it's all off of memory. And she became a spectator, I think, or a spooktator, that's what it is. So she's a lumpy looking weird ghost thing trapped in a labyrinth of despair, sprouted by the spud of despair spore getting in her and blossoming. So she's in a state where, as this spooktator, she is utterly sad and lonely and depressed, basically. And you could even say she's a bit of a couch potato, and she can't get up and do these things on her own. And instead, this maladaptive behavior takes place where she attempts to capture people who come into her way, or who, happen to cross her path, and the goal is to take happy memories from them and feed off of them. But the problem is that, affected as she is by the spore of the spud of despair, and in the state of being a mere spooktator, even consuming the good, wholesome, happy memories of others is not enough to bring her joy and happiness. It may last for a moment, but it can't go beyond that. And that's really sad. That's really sad. And I guess I'm sort of talking about depression, but also friendship and teamwork with the story, because in that book, Kat feels excluded and alone because her cousins, who happen to be the other Grobug kids, Rex, Ava, and Harmony, they're over for a sleepover, and it's not going the way she wants, and she feels that they are excluding her, and that leads her to a negative emotion spiral, which is seized upon by this spooktator, and then all of them are drawn into the spooktator's labyrinth, and in there, she attempts to harvest memories from them, but it will never work. And ultimately the kids escape through teamwork and helping each other, and the Grobugs come and rescue them, and then Kat, who also escapes along with her cousins and their Grobugs, is outside of the labyrinth, and the Grobugs fight as a team, but individually doing their own tactics to try to defeat the spooktator, which has become enraged and has taken a violent visceral form and is attacking these children and their Grobugs because it wants to seize them for their happiness. And Kat has the bright idea for the Grobugs to combine so that they can become a more powerful being. Yes, this is it's organic gatai. It's a combination robot. Well, no, they don't. They turn into little machines, and then they turn into a combination robot, a la Power Rangers or Super Sentai, better yet. And while they are fighting the Spooktator and having some successes, I believe they're unable to actually overcome it. And what happens instead is that Kat recognizes that the reason the Spooktator is attacking is because it is broken and sad and empty and hollow, and she feels the same way because she knows how it feels. She has sympathy, which I believe is the correct word. It's when you know the actual feeling, versus empathy is when you can understand the feeling intellectually and you feel badly for the person because of that. But she is resonating sympathetically with the Grobug, who she doesn't know is a Grobug, who's a Spooktator, who's attacking them, because she knows that deep down inside it is hurt and alone and just wants a friend. So she runs back into the labyrinth, finds her way to the center of it, where the Grobug, the bee Grobug, who goes by the name of something or other, which I forgot. Hold on, let me check my list real quick. Who goes by the name of Hiss, is trapped and alone and unable to escape from the cage of sorrow and sadness that she's in, when in reality the cage of sorrow and sadness is open on one side and she's just turned around, not looking at the empty space, only looking at the bars and seeing that she cannot escape. However, her interaction with Kat and Kat's bid or offer to be her friend awakens her and helps her to turn around and see the truth that all she has to do is come out of the cage and she can be free of her sadness. And together they leave. The monster outside disappears, the Spooktator is no more, and the labyrinth dissipates. And this Grobug is reunited with, this Grobug now has a friend of a human. Hiss is now friends with Kat. See what I did there? And Kat and the Grobugs and her cousins all embrace Hiss, and I believe they have a fun sleepover party late into the night before the Grobugs have to leave and go on their own. So with that summary of Kat and the Grobug, with the understanding of the issue that Hiss is dealing with, and the fact that Hiss is actually not in the majority of the book because she's taken this other form, the form of this Spooktator, how do I tell that story? When Swoosh took over, who is from Ava and the Grobug, she acknowledged that in the story of Twang and Hya, that there was the power of love that helped them out in that situation. But she advocated for, this might be spoilers for the book, the power of courage instead, because if you have the courage of heart, you can do anything regardless of whether or not you love somebody. And maybe in some strange way you can even see courage as being a form of love. It's a love so big and brave that it won't be intimidated, and it's a love so profound and compassionate that it doesn't really care who it's risking its life for, which I think is super interesting. In Harmony and the Grobug, the Harmony and the Grobug story is about empathy, but the story that Wisp tells instead, Wisp the butterfly Grobug, is one of not joyfully accepting whatever comes to you, because it is ultimately something happening for you, not to you, but it acknowledges that through the darkness and through the difficulties there is growth and there is strength found, or an opportunity for growth to be had and strength to be found. And in a way, it talks about like heroic service and duty to others, because while Harmony does basically break free of her delusion on her own, really with the help of her parents in the dream world, it is only through being empowered by WISP that she's able to actually overcome the conflict and the difficulty she was facing. So she was misled, was blind, was confused. She gained clarity, but then along with her clarity in being correct about something is not enough. You need to have the power and the ability to do something. So Harmony got the power and maybe the agency, or maybe she already had the agency, but she didn't have the effective leverage or the tools that she needed to actually affect the change she wanted to, and WISP became that for her. In kind of a mechanistic, cold way. Like, she wasn't mean or anything, but it wasn't like, oh, I love you, my friend. It's, you're my friend, I'm going to help you. It's, you're in trouble, you need help, I'm going to help you in whatever way I can. And here, with Cat and the Grobug, we have Cat rescuing Hiss, the Grobug, from her sadness and despair, and helping Hiss helped Cat. She empathized with Cat, or with Hiss rather, and was able to offer her the thing that she needed most, and in doing so, she became whole, and that power and that beauty and that light was shared and spread, and it broke through the darkness that was consuming both of them. So then, relating that back to this story, does that mean I totally got interrupted, had a conversation or two, and now I cannot remember? Does that mean what? Does that imply that I should do what with Cat and the Grobug? Harmony was helped in a not, in a neutral, just way, good way, because that's what Grobugs do. And now this Grobug is lost and hurt and in need of help, and Cat is the one who ends up doing it in that book. So that's because she empathizes and has sympathy with her, and wants to break through the darkness because she had felt the pain of being friendless and lonely and didn't want somebody else to feel that way. So when she went outside of herself, she, broke through that. But what does that mean? And what is the lesson that Hiss has for the Grobug cadets? Is it that Grobug cadets can go bad too? I don't know. I actually am thinking that I should use that concept that Grobugs can go bad too, and maybe, and this is not dictation, this is actually for developing the book later, the Cybugs are a thing from Harmony and the Grobug in the background. You don't know about it through reading the book, or at least I don't think you do. I don't think I mention them in there at all, but it's in my backstory and my notes that I made on developing the story, and they're this whole other thing, and I didn't know what to do with the Cybugs or where they came from or anything like that, except I do have a notion of somebody using animal cyborgs, even including insects, for different purposes, and it just hit me, what if a Grobug can go bad? And what if the first Cybug, like it's a fallen angel, fallen Grobug, and what if the first Cybug is actually a Grobug who's fallen and become corrupted because of whatever? And it can be kind of like a, cool motive, still murder situation where, and I'm not going to come up with the backstory, but, something happened with this Grobug. Maybe it's a very old, high ascended Grobug, a Grobug, what do you call that? Not wizard. Whatever. I can't remember what the highest level of Grobug is, but maybe it's one of those, and it fell, and it's become an enemy of mankind now. Instead of fulfilling its purpose, it's doing the opposite. And maybe it's doing that through, somehow it got mixed up with the Project Apex or whatever it's called, that generates these animal cyborgs, and it actually sends an army of Cybugs out to destroy these Grobugs. And maybe all of this happens not too long after the Harmony and the Grobug situation, because Cybugs were interfered with at that time by, they were interfered with, I think, by the actions of WISP that were not included in this book or in that book, because I kind of want to put them in a different book. But what if we have that, army of evil Cybug things sent by a corrupted Grobug, and that part of this story that Hiss is going to tell is how she fell into that darkness, proving that Grobugs can fall into darkness, can become corrupted, can have these negative things happen to them, and then that can be turned into a point that she makes, and that can be seeding and foreshadowing this evil Grobug behind these Cybugs that are going to come attack their camp. And that way it's bug on bug action that can be kind of more interesting, more exciting. That's at least a thought for now. Getting back on track for what is the story that I want to tell for Hiss's side of things in Grobug Tales, I do like the idea of mentioning or speaking about, touching on the vulnerability of Grobugs to fall. I don't know if I want it to be, I don't know, like Jedi, where you're afraid that you're going to fall to the dark side and you can be seduced by the dark side, because I don't think that makes sense. That just the Grobugs can be doing something and then they can make the wrong choice, and then slowly that wrong choice will corrupt them and turn them evil. I was considering the danger presented to be that of loneliness, or maybe like the corruption of being alone, because while the Grobugs do have to act as independent operators in the field, that's just them at the tip of the spear. Behind them, you have the seers and the keepers who work to maintain the Grobug society and to connect them to humans, children who are in danger from hobnots, so that they can perform their duty that they were made for. I had a thought about maybe, using a chain is only as strong as its weakest link type argument, and maybe linking that with the chitin of a young bug is soft and flexible and doesn't offer that much protection, versus the chitin of an older Grobug is going to be rigid and very strong and able to defend them. And maybe talking about the group as like a shell or shield or barrier, and that there are soft spots, and when they're stressed they can become hardened. But I don't know if that's accurate, and I don't know why they would know about chains necessarily, or why they would use chains with the Grobug cadets would know about chains. That doesn't really make sense. Do I have Hiss explain how she got to the point where the spore of the Sorrow Spud had an effect on her? Because I would think that, it would kind of be interesting if it could only have an effect on you if you lacked resolve or lacked the strength of heart. And I'm okay with Hiss being cautious, and I don't know, coming from this place of vulnerability and weakness, where she feels badly about having, become a hobnot, which is kind of what Hya was saying, so that's maybe a little too repetitious. But I was thinking maybe she should be cautious and dubious about things now. And what if that kindness, or that caution rather, is kind of what endears her to Russell? And maybe she's, the fully mature, balanced portion, or balanced iteration of that, where she has the caution, but she also has the strength to act decisively when she must. She's still an operable field agent because she's able to balance that out. She can be cautious. She might be a little, slow or whatever at certain things, but she's going to get in the thick of it when the time is right. And maybe that can contrast with, I feel like Chirp probably resonates with Whoosh, or was it Swoosh? Okay, I think it's Whoosh. Maybe it's Swoosh. Let's go with Swoosh for now. But the ladybug from Ava and the Grobug. One of his story tells of how she became ensnared by the labyrinth of loneliness and the spud of despair spore. And it's almost a cautionary tale and an advisement to
the Grobug cadets about how they need to use discretion and caution in the field so that they don't become, entrapped and weak and in need of assistance like she became, and instead they can be strong, resilient, adaptable, members of Grobug society that can help them. Almost like her story is a story of the virtue of caution, and again, that can be something that that Russell really resonates with, and it can be something that bothers Chirp, and maybe there can be another back and forth featuring the Grobug cadets, but mostly the two of them as they talk about what she did. What if I use as a subtitle for this story from Chapter 7, Hiss and the Sorrow Spud, a tale of the virtue of caution? Or how I learned to start worrying and take care of myself. I was thinking that I did want to focus on the dangers within and the dangers without. They know about the dangers of external things like shadows and whatnot, but are they thinking about and are they concerned about the dangers within, which are that a lack of caution, a lack of care, a lack of focus? Just because they're Grobugs doesn't mean that they're invincible and invulnerable. We saw Hya get infected by the Vexavor. Twang did to an extent as well, even though that was more on purpose. But that they are susceptible and that there is danger for them. Maybe bring home the fact that there's danger. It's not just a fear or caution of them falling and becoming corrupted, which is very unlikely to happen. But there is the caution that they have to have because they aren't invulnerable, like I said, and things can happen to them which will end their mission, and that's not good. And those things come from maybe a lack of focus, a lack of caution, a lack of self-awareness. So it's good, it's wise to have an understanding that they're all part of a chain. They're all part of a chain, even though they don't understand chains. They're all part of something bigger and interconnected, and the duty of each member to take care of themselves as best as they can for the good of the collective, so that they can all continue to keep on their mission. And because of that, they need to not slack off, to not forget themselves, to not let themselves become complacent. Almost like saying there is a duty for you as a Grobug, as a field agent, as someone who has the responsibility to save the lives of others, that you need to take care of yourself. And courage isn't enough. You need to temper it with caution, because if you don't, you're going to foolishly rush into a situation and have yourself turned into a liability, an enemy, or some strange thing in between, like the Spooktator.
I suppose right now the question I'm asking myself is, what was Hiss doing that got her stuck? There's a couple questions. What got her stuck with the Spud Spore, the Sorrow Spud Spore, or whatever it's called? What got her stuck with that? And then, was she chained to the location where this happened? Or was she able to move around? And then another question, what is a Sorrow Spud? And why does it exist? Is it animal, vegetable, or mineral? I'm going to say it's not mineral. It's definitely vegetable to some extent. I wonder if it can be a vegetable that has a way of feeding itself, which is to be parasitic, or like a virus. I guess parasitic is more accurate. And it interacts with a life form and it alters it and changes it and then turns that thing into a host to gather more energy and life force to itself. And I think I like the idea of it being tied to a single location so that it can hold on to they can kind of like conserve energy, and it's kind of like a sarlacc. It stays in one place and doesn't do anything other than try to feed and keep existing. Honestly, a sarlacc comes to mind. If I didn't already say that, I had to pause my recording real quick, but I'm back. And I think that approximates a natural system. Now, this could be, let's just say that it's I really love the concept of invasive species being enemies or foes, and part of that is because I like to think about things being in a naturalistic way. I like to have a natural or realistic construction to my worlds, and when you have invasive species, there's nothing that predates them, and therefore they go out of control and they throw the ecosystem out of balance. And it's not that every single one of those entities or life forms need to be, because it could be plant too, needs to be destroyed off of the face of the planet. It's that it's not well suited to this environment, and maybe other things can be brought in here to balance it out and bring it into, well, a sense of balance, and have a natural order be restored, or a new natural order grafted onto somewhere where there'd been a disruption, because there is such thing as equilibrium, and things will swing both ways until they finally come to a median. But the truth is that since there are many factors, and we have open systems within the planet, that you have all these different things interfering with each other and interacting with each other and creating all sorts of edges and areas of friction and opportunity, and just anyway, it's just really interesting. And I think you can get so much good, solid, logical, reasonable types of conflict out of those things without saying this is evil. Well, okay, it devastates this area because there's nothing to counteract it. If there were a natural thing that counteracted it here, or if we had something that adapted to it to counteract it, then it would fall into a harmonious mean, and that would be fine. It'd be great. Maybe we could even manipulate things like that to, at least on a micro scale, to bring about some desired effect that we want. Anyway, the way nature works, it's almost like if you ever built a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I don't have experience with like Magic, but if you built like a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, like the way you can get the cards that run in there to operate in a certain way, as far as effects or magic spells or different types of types of monster, fairy monster, light monster, whatever, you can use different tactics to create like a little sub-ecosystem within them that they connect to each other, and they have a network effect that's higher with each other, that's more capable. And I think that's really a neat idea. Anyway, what I was saying was, or to get back to my point, is I like this idea of a natural mimicking system of things in my world. So if this if this sorrow spud is some sort of plant, and I think it should look like a potato and act like a potato. That's funny, and kind of neat. Act like a potato. Oh man. Maybe it's even something under the ground specifically, and for whatever reason. So I need to come up with a reason that Hiss was in there and got affected by it. Now that I have a good grasp and understanding of this, and to summarize. And that's a key word there, ChatGPT. To summarize, or the summary of this would be that the sorrow spud spore, which is called that by people who encounter it in our world, comes from another world, and it is an invasive species here. And what it does is it immobilizes other life forms, and then it feeds off of them. And in order to keep itself and them alive, it, one, immobilizes them to minimize their energy expenditure, and two, it causes them to become a funnel, basically, in order to bring more nutrient to itself through whatever means. So let's say the sorrow spud spore has a tentacle or a spore that connects to a life form, and then a connection is formed based on that to the spud itself or the spud roots, and then from that other branches come out. One organism hits that, two organisms hit that, and then from them, it's on opposite sides, they branch out even farther, and maybe their feelers reach out towards each other, and you can have crossover between them, or a nice expanding branching structure, and you can basically get this very far, very fast branching out with almost like rhizomes, if you think about plants, like grasses, including like bamboo, and those spread out, and then where they can, they sprout up, and it just kind of goes from there. So yeah, it's a very natural system, and for whatever reason, and let's say it's not that it's in Cat's backyard, it's somewhere else that it started, and they're cutting off Hiss from that branch of the sorrow spud structure, and there's more to be dealt with, and maybe that's something that can be expanded upon further at a later time, not in this story at all. I would suggest then, and this might be something that I add back into Cat and the Key of Kindness, is that the sorrow spud is able to take the energy of the host that it's attached itself to and that it's growing parasitically with. It's able to mimic it and adapt it. So almost like a symbiote, right? It can mimic and reproduce some of its abilities, which is why potentially this would be a really fun idea when Cat and Hiss have escaped from the labyrinth of loneliness. They are still able to encounter and fight, and you know what, let's Sixth Ranger this up and have Hiss the Moth Grobug join in with the other Grobugs in their combination to complete it, to cut off the spud monster thing 100% from the sorrow spud and have it be destroyed. It withers away, it blows up, whatever it does. But I think that would be a cool extra dimension to add to it, and that's a way to keep the sorrow spud interesting in later appearances. Now, because the sorrow spud is a potato mimicking type thing, it would have growth underground, and it would spread from there, its network or its net that it would catch things in order to incorporate them into itself and ensure its persistent life. So what I'm thinking is, somehow, this is a note to pay attention to, Hiss was rooting around in the ground for something, one of her Grobug activities, which is Grobug, no W there, and while she was doing that, she was afflicted by a spore, or caught in the spud network, and due to that she became trapped by it. And I do not know what story that was for, but I also don't really think it matters, and I kind of don't want to elaborate on it. Moving on from that, I had considered making Hiss the Moth somebody who is very much in alignment with Russell the Moth as far as being a cautious person, and I was considering having her story be the story that she tells to the Grobug cadets be one that focuses on the virtues of caution. However, thinking all this out, I do not see where her being cautious is relevant or hinted at in the story of Cat and the Key of Kindness. I almost think the opposite could be true. And maybe Chirp can give Russell a hard time about that. That Cat reached out to Hiss and made friends with her, and it solved a lot of problems. But she was only able to do that because she had the courage and the outgoingness to a certain extent to go ahead and do that. And Hiss was almost kind of trapped in an introverted way where she was reclusive and secluded to herself while suffering and wanting warm interactions with others but unable to get them. And when Kat shook her from that, she was able to bring her out. So, does that mean that Hiss is a timid, withdrawn, quiet kind of person? Or would it suggest that perhaps she's the opposite, and maybe the Spud used that aspect of her to fuel its activities as her to draw others in to the labyrinth of loneliness? That would make sense. What I'm trying to wind up to is, should Hiss's point or lesson be the importance of boldness and taking action that is good that you're not sure will work? Does that have anything to do with faith and trust? And can that be part of what she's saying? Not the hippy-dippy, trust the process, everything's happening to you, for you, not to you idea that WISP brought up, but maybe something, I guess, related to that, which is that you don't know what's going to happen until you try, so you may as well try, and you might just surprise yourself and do something amazing. Like, depending on her personality, I can see her lamenting being stuck as the spooktator and not thinking that was something good at all, or not focusing on trying to see the good in it, except for the fact that when someone took a chance on her, she was able to get free. And then when she took a chance with them, they were able to get free faster and permanently. And you know what, now, this is making me think I might need to rearrange the scenario a little in the Cat book in order to make it so that Hiss coming out of the labyrinth and then facing the monster is what brings it to the point where they get to combine. And it's less that she's going to play the Sixth Ranger role and that Kat's going to randomly come up with the idea for them to combine, and it's going to be more that she sees that something's wrong and something's not working. Their attacks are ineffectual, so she goes in and gets Hiss at that point, brings Hiss out, and then Hiss suggests that they implement the power of teamwork, much as Kat had done teamworky stuff with her to free her from the labyrinth, that now they will free themselves as a group by working together as a team. And that is when we have the climactic moment of them combining and then having combination Grobug Knight battle against the mad, unleashed, crazy Spooktator. That sounds like a better idea, and I think it will require minimal rewrites in Cat and the Key of Kindness. And the lesson of being bold and taking and making calculated risks in order to succeed and achieve something great can be very good foreshadowing for stuff that happens later in the book with the heroic deeds undertaken by the cadets when things are at their worst for the Grobug camp. So perhaps I need to come up with a tiny synopsis and outline of what Hiss's story is going to be at this point. Or rather, the story that she's going to tell the Grobug cadets assembled there. Because the stage is hers, and she's here to share with them. The theme, object, point of her story is being bold and taking action when you see a wild chance for success, especially when things are at their worst. Because sometimes those wild, bold, outlandish moves are just the thing that you need in order to succeed and achieve your goals. That being the case, which, by the way, I did not come up with a summary or a synopsis or a outline for this section. I know that. It's too bad. But thinking about that and thinking about her character, I think that she's going to be very brash and bold, and that Chirp's actually going to like her. Maybe best of all. And that she won't let necessarily Glimmer introduce her to the crowd. She's going to come into the circle, and she won't be introspective and quiet like Hya was, and she won't be hippy-dippy like the last one, like the butterfly, like Wisp. She will just go out there and be super extroverted and, hey, Grobug Cadets, I've got a story for you. Listen up. You're going to like this one, and you're going to like it, and you might even want to try it sometime on your own. So I'm breaking in to say that I actually did 10 minutes of writing earlier today. I just typed on the keyboard. I actually wrote down that summary that I mentioned earlier in this audio, and I put it at the top of Chapter 7 of Grobug Tales, and I've done some reworking and some rethinking, and I was inspired to rewrite, well, basically the rewriting that I did today was to change the fight that the three Grobugs have with Spooktator so that they fight it and defeat it on their own, sort of, but just like in Super Sentai and Power Rangers, once the thing is defeated in its first form, you know, it then grows giant or whatever. It's not going to grow giant, it's going to be defeated. They're going to have a false moment of victory. They're going to realize something's bad. Then Cat will go into the labyrinth, do everything with Hiss, and then when Cat and Hiss emerge, like I was just saying, Hiss will have the great idea of, hey, let's combine, we can do this. And there'll be maybe a question asked about that, and she can say, I know we can. You know, if we're going to be friends, you got to trust me, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you. Ooh, that's even nice. I like that. I'm going to do everything I can to help you, and we're going to, you know, overcome this guy, and, you know, just watch what we Grobugs can do, or something like that. Because I do have a line in there about, like, well, is that possible? I don't know. With all our Grobugs are done, maybe they can. So, yeah, I think that'll be fun. And, of course, that's like a little Easter egg callback, or Easter egg, a little callback to, for people who've read the other books, they'll know that Harmony turned into a Kamen Rider, basically, and Ava turned into an Ultraman. Ultra Woman, Ultra Girl, whatever, with Swoosh. So, yeah, it's within the wheelhouse of them to somehow turn into a, you know, magical robot. What does that robot look like? I don't know yet. I'm going to start working on cover designs, though, for all 5/6 books, and I have a great idea, but that's just a tangent. I won't be designing the robot now. I'm going to wait, you know, hopefully I can do all of the plan is to do all of the cover designs within a week, maybe, you know, 10 days at the most, and then I will, I guess, have to come up with a little bit of a design for that mecha, but I don't know, just some ideas. I'm a little concerned about what it's going to look like, and I'm glad earlier when I was writing, this is a lesson to learn, I'm glad earlier when I was writing this, I don't know, a month or so ago, that I just, or maybe it was 2 months ago now, I didn't focus on, well, I need to have a praying mantis crane, and a ladybug jet and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't waste my time or energy on that at all. I just let it be and left it open for me to come and fill the gap in later, which is what I'm going to do, but not quite yet. I got a little more writing to do, but right now I was thinking about this based on these new revelations I'm having about Hiss and the fact that her personality, or her like main focal point, her worldview is seen through the lens of friendship and maybe unity. I thought, oh, that's perfect for her being like the Super Sentai one, right? So not according to Dawn Brothers, but anyway, I got an idea for what to do to have her address the Grobug circle, and I'm gonna go ahead and start that dictation now. there, cadets. I'm Hiss. And I'm so glad to be here. I've been watching all of you, and I've noticed that while you all get along, I can see a spark of friendship. I can see a few sparks of friendship between some of you. That's great. Back when I was a cadet, my friend Pop and I got into so much trouble. What happened was, we were on this trek around the camp, and Pop thought she saw something. She went after it and got lost, so I went after her and... I beg your pardon, Glimmer butted in. But now is not the time, Hiss. Hiss turned to Glimmer and chuckled. Sorry, you're right. The point is, cadets, we helped each other out of a situation. And had we not been there for each other, it wouldn't have ended well for either of us. This story is a new one. It happened not too long ago, and it's about another friend. Actually, a few friends that I met after I had gotten lost, too. I was on my way back from a mission where well, actually, never mind. I'll tell you about that some other time. The point is, it was getting late, and the sun was already about to come up. So, I stopped to rest. When I wake up, something's wrong. I can't quite tell what it is. It turns out I was in a sour sorrow spud patch. Grobugs have encountered sorrow spuds before, and they are not something that can easily be ignored. They are nasty, parasitic plants that spread themselves out like a spider's web. Anything that gets caught in them, they can drain life energy from. And in my case, it turns out it was able to do even more. I became trapped in a cage. A cage that I could have gotten out of the whole time. The sorrow spud and I formed some sort of connection that flowed both ways. It was able to pull life energy from me while keeping me alive enough to use my powers to help pull in more victims for it to drain life out of. The way it trapped me was it stole all my joy. I couldn't feel happiness. I felt completely alone. Like no one would be looking for me. No one was out there, and no one wanted to help me. It was a really terrible feeling, and for whatever reason, that sadness, that hunger, and that desperation would only feel better when I was doing exactly what the sorrow spud wanted me to. Why am I standing here today in front of you telling you this story? Well, obviously, it's because I got out. How did I get out, though? This was really weird. This girl cat and her cousins ended up trapped in this labyrinth of loneliness that the sorrow spud and I created together. I became trapped in this cage, but because of my powers, part of me was able to roam around this maze as a strange ghost-like figure. It was me and I was it. It was my light, but it was dim, almost a shadow. It was always tied to me, but I could move around with it, or move it around while I stayed stuck in my cage. And the first kid who I met that day is now my good friend. Her name is Kat. And she reached out to me when no one else did. She was lonely just like me. But she was really brave too. After she and her cousins had gotten out of the labyrinth, I was so desperate to get them back, to not feel lonely anymore, to try to take their happy memories so I could feel happy again, that I summoned all of my strength with the encouragement of the sorrow spud, and my ghost turned into a monster that attacked the kids. They were able to defeat me, the rampaging spooktator, but then the sorrow spud took over and put all of its force into getting this monster back up on its feet, attacking the kids again. And it was gonna... And it was so desperate that it attacked them more fiercely. That's when Kat came in. She offered me friendship and helped release me from my cage. It turned out that she was kind to me, it turned out that when she was kind to me and offered me friendship, the bars of my cage didn't work anymore. I was free. I could see my way out, and I took it as soon as I could. You would think that would be the end of the spooktator monster outside of the labyrinth, but it wasn't. Like I said, somehow the sorrow spud was able to take some of my power and energy and life force from me, and it used that to make the spooktator monster even stronger and more powerful. The labyrinth disappeared, but the monster remained. And Kat and I could see that the Grobugs and her cousins were in trouble. So we rushed over to them as quickly as we could, and I had this crazy idea. The three of them had been fighting the Spooktator monster on their own as a team. Each one would do something different because that's all they could do. But it was a big monster. And we were little Grobugs. But we don't always have to be little. What if we could combine our power and become something bigger and stronger that could defeat, that could match the Spooktator and defeat it, and hopefully destroy the whole Sorrow Spud once and for all. The kids weren't so sure, but the other Grobugs knew that we could do it. So we merged into something like the image of a warrior that Kat and the other kids had seen before. And together, we defeated the Spooktator and destroyed the sour Sorrow Spud patch. Comment, it's just supposed to be Sorrow Spud, not Sour Spud, but probably because of Sour Patch Kids, sour somehow keeps getting in there. End note. So I'd say it's time to stop dictation and start to comment. I just came back from being interrupted. I don't know what happened, but I will wrap this up by telling you the goal was to write Chapter 7 of Grobug Tales. What ended up happening was I rewrote a little bit of Cat and the Grobug, which corresponds to this because Hiss is the Grobug in Cat and the Grobug, and then she's the focal point or the one telling the story in Chapter 7 of Grobug Tales. However, I went back and rewrote part of that story, and I think I improved it by doing that. And I also came up with a whole new titling structure for the chapter book as well as the picture books. And if I want to make more picture books in the future, I now have a format to follow, and it will make sense. It'll be distinct. It'll maintain a consistent branding. And if I do a bigger Grobug Tales book or other Grobug Tales chapter books like this first one, I'll be able to come up with titles for all of them or subtitles for all of them that will unite them, and it'll be obvious, okay, this is a bigger chapter book. It's a prose. If there's no, pictures with it, except, cover image maybe in chapter headings, perhaps, and these other books are obvious. So it won't be like super blatant, but there is an easily detectable pattern, and it makes it easily understandable that all of them are in a series together, despite the fact that some are picture books and some are chapter books or novellas or whatever they're going to end up being. And I don't currently plan on writing an additional Grobug Tales chapter book, but if I were going to, I would know how to, and I could go ahead and write about anything, which I think is interesting. And I like that flexibility. It makes me feel free, and it makes me feel like with that bit of planning that I did, I'll be able to, like I said, have the freedom to maneuver however I want to going forward with the Grobug books. But also, it's given me a really strong central idea of how to brand books for series going forward. And that really makes me pleased because I have a whole huge superhero book idea universe, Holy Heroes, which I've mentioned before. And I now have this new separate universe idea that I want to do that I'll talk about later. But so, yeah, the plan was to write Chapter 7 of Grobug Tales. I didn't. I instead rewrote and rebranded Grobug Tales Cat and the Key of Kindness. That is now book 4 in the Grobug picture book series. So you see there with the title, it focuses on the kid, not the Grobug. Grobug is in the title. It used to be Cat and the Grobug. Now Grobug Tales is the main title. Under that, it identifies that it's about Cat, and then there's something about this Key of Kindness. So I don't know if all of them have an emotion. They're all either an emotional title or an action title related to the kid, and it's possessive. So Cat's Key of Kindness, Zev's such and such, Rex's whatever, and that's how they'll be distinguished. And you can say, oh, it's the Rex book, the Cat book, the whatever book, and that all makes sense. So I also did make good solid notes for going back into chapter 7, and now with the rewrites that I've done in Cat and the Key of Kindness, I now have a much better understanding of the personality of Hiss, and I actually did dictate a little bit of that, which is in this recording, so I was momentarily confused about the reality of the situation, and I think I'm going to have, once the transcript of this episode is done, I think for my own benefit, for my own notes, I will have ChatGPT read the transcript and give me the highlights and tell me, like, what did I accomplish by the end of this episode of Story Over Everything, which is going to be, again, Story Over Everything episode 22. And I think I like this format. It's an hour long. I did not expect it to go this long, and we'll see how long the future writing and public focused episodes are of Story Over Everything. But I'm happy that I'm writing. I feel good writing, and I think making it a priority has really pushed it in my mind. It's really sparked my imagination in a lot of ways. I honestly was feeling, even yesterday or the day before, I was feeling very much stuck, and how I didn't know how I was going to proceed. And I kept thinking about it and analyzing it and trying to come up with, figuring, well, what's my formula? What's my layout? I don't really have a layout. It's just like, or a outline. I just have these broad strokes, but they're basically enough. And I'm not going to say what the outline is right now, but it's a structure that makes sense for the story. And I even tried to have ChatGPT determine a outline for me, and it ended up coming up with the exact same outline that I had formed based on all the information I'd given it, which I guess kind of makes sense. But it was really interesting. It was really interesting to use that tool, and I'm figuring out different ways to use it, and I'm getting smarter at using it. And it's interesting. I'm a little less satisfied so far because it hasn't given me like any exact content. Like it's given me blurbs, but I wrote my own blurbs, and I've maybe stole a line or two from some of the AI blurbs that I got from it and incorporated them into mine. But I'm really overall going to probably use mine and not really mess with them too much. But it's cool. I've been asking it to rate my blurbs or rate my writing. I even asked it to rate Cat and the Key of Kindness, and I was less than thrilled with the score. But I think maybe it lacks context. I might need to talk to other Tokusatsu fans to see how they like it. But I did reread it today. I was reading it to my wife, and there were a couple things in it that I didn't like, and I thought, well, maybe I'll revise those, and maybe it's right that it could be written better than it is now, so I should definitely check that out. But anyway, that's the end of my journey for now, this work on Chapter 7 / Book 4 of the Grobug series, or Grobug Tales, and that's all the progress I've made. Like I said, if you want to look at the show notes, the actual show notes on the website, I'll have a condensed or summarized version of everything that came out of this episode, and it'll be done for me by ChatGPT, and I'll run through and I'll just like do some proofreading, correct spelling, things like that. So anyway, that's it. This is me on my latest step in my author journey. I'm using these AI tools, and I'm figuring out how to cultivate a discipline and a consistency so that I am writing more and more and more and becoming a better author, because I want to get this stuff done as soon as possible. Anyway, until next time, folks, take care. This is MJ signing out.
I hope you enjoyed that. Go to mjmunoz.com to leave any questions, comments, or other feedback you might have. There you can find all of my analysis, art, and fiction. I cover books, tokusatsu, comic books, anime, and more. Look around. You're sure to find something else that you'll enjoy as well. This has been a Story Over Everything production.